Hey, what's up, everyone? You got the Hobby Drifter here again. I'm just a few days away from the release of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I'm very excited. I'm excited to see a new Star Wars movie in a theater. Always a great experience. One that we've had quite a few times in the last few years, which is really cool. Always a good experience to see a movie like that on the big screen. And arguably doubly so in a Japanese movie theater. Now, Japanese movie theaters have ticket prices that are pretty high to see just a regular 2D movie. These days, in most theaters, it's about 1,900 yen, so $18. And that can go up to like 3,400 yen if you want to see it in like IMAX 3D. Then they've got these like super premium executive seats that can be, 5,000, 6,000 something yen, with a little souvenir sometimes, and occasionally they'll include things like popcorn and drinks. But one really cool thing about Japanese movie theaters is that even though the tickets are more expensive, food and drink prices are generally very low, unless you count the 900 yen craft beers. Those are, yeah. So if you're the kind of person who, in an American movie, would go to, buy the tickets and the popcorn and all that stuff, you'd wind up coming out right around the same, maybe a little bit more, but not so much that you'd probably notice. However, at Japanese movie theaters, they do sell exclusive merchandise for most of the movies that come out. At least most of the bigger movies or kids' movies, they'll have things like, clear files and pencils, cute little pens, enamel pins, things like that. But something that gets released for almost every movie, and I say almost because whenever I say, a big blanket statement, I get someone who says, "Oh, well, no, there was one time," but no. So for almost every movie that comes out, you get the souvenir program or the movie pamphlet, and these have been a staple of Japanese movie theaters for decades. I think I've got a few going back 50, 60 years. And what they are is they're just little, almost magazine, A4 sized, usually, books with some, information about the movie, the cast, some behind the scenes stuff, interviews with the creators, things like that. And this stack I've got here is most of the Star Wars souvenir programs. Thing about souvenir programs is, for the most part, there's not a big aftermarket for them. If you go to a used bookstore like Book Off, you'll often find a fairly large selection of them, and almost all of them are 100 yen. There are a few exceptions. Ghibli movies tend to command a higher price. Godzilla movies, especially the older ones, can be very expensive. Cult movies, and just small movies. Randomly, the Transformers Beast Wars 2 movie program can go for a good chunk of change. Recently, in recent years, the Star Wars programs have gone up in price a little bit, but have also become much harder to find, especially the older ones. So, I mean, you might find one for 100 yen, but you would almost certainly go years without seeing at least a few of these. I found these, the original trilogy ones anyway, when I moved to Kita, Kyushu back in 2008. And I lived in a tiny, tiny, tiny little apartment that was above like a secondhand store / bodega. And they had a whole bunch of these things from the 70s and 80s for 100, 200 yen each. And it's when I scooped some of these up. So let's take a look. The original Star Wars program, it's very, very basic, just stars and wars. The subtitle is just Star Wars. And yeah, you got your introductions, some screenshots, cast list, character list. And the story, kind of interesting. This is basically the entire story of the movie from the beginning up through the end. And the reason you would see this in a lot of these earlier programs is because there was no home video release, and most people didn't go to see a movie several times. So, as your souvenir, your little keepsake, this was how you remembered what happened in the movie. But yeah, this is a very short version of everything that happened. And then you got some, behind the scenes stuff, the mechanicals for R2 and C3PO. It's very basic. Price for this was 350 yen when it came out. Most programs now run 800 to 1,000, with a few special editions being even more expensive. And we got Empire Strikes Back, much nicer cover, beautiful painted artwork here. And it's the same deal as the original, but with, a little bit more flair now that Star Wars was a more bankable commodity. And then Return of the Jedi. And just some poster art. And of course you got the Carrie Fisher in there. She was great. She was better after Star Wars than she was in Star Wars. Like, on the unlikely chance you don't know, look up her later career as like a script doctor and things like that. Oh, she was so important to so many great movies. And you got that famous art on the back. Okay. So then, when the special editions came out, we got another program, but this time it was for all three. It was a combination of all three movies in one really nice, very, very nice package. And as you can see, it's just mostly a collection of art that you've seen before, pictures you've seen before. It's kind of nice that they didn't do 3 of these. Would have been kind of a bummer to have to track them down again. Yeah. From this one is where you start to see a lot of these things used to advertise other products. You got the Star Wars toys, figures, books, things like that. And you will see this again in pretty much every other pamphlet that you see, because paying it. There's the poster collection. Because it's not enough to pay 1,000 yen or whatever for a little souvenir magazine. You gotta hawk the merchandise in the back. All right, then coming into the prequel era, these covers are all very basic. This little like die cut cover here, makes this a real pain to find a nice copy of if you go the book off route, because they don't really take good care of these. They just stick them on the shelf, and this thing gets rubbed off very easily. So I'm kind of happy to have one in reasonably nice shape. Yeah, just got the embossed Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Just tons and tons of artwork, props, concept art, making of. I mean, this is very nice. It's more in-depth than any of the other ones. More expensive, too. Not now. Now it's cheap. But at the time, pay another 1,000 yen on your 1,500 yen movie ticket. So much advertising. These were cool. These were little mini capsule machine gashapon balls that had small replicas of of the 3 3/4 inch figures. These were fun. 200 yen each and only 5 in the set. Ooh, and the saga continues in episode 2. Oh, they were so confident. The episode 2 is even more basic. They got rid of that awful window. You can see this one's a little bit damaged. And yeah, the embossed episode 2. Yeah, I'm feeling like you're probably getting the idea, but it's all the same you'd expect. It's very nice. You got your full cast down here. So it continues, episode 3. Alright, episode 3. Kind of amazing how Vader was front and center for like just all of the marketing on this, even though you only see him for the last, 2 minutes of the movie. So, yeah, I figured you know what's going on here, but there's one thing I was kind of surprised in here. The gigantic, massive spoil. I mean, obviously he becomes Darth Vader. You knew that was going to happen. But just like photos from the the final scenes of the movie, just right here. So I mean, if you bought this before the movie and you sat down, I'll flip through it. Yeah, we'll enjoy that. A lot of these movies now come polybagged with a little note saying, "Yeah, don't look at these until after you've seen the movie." The Kotobukiya figures. I remember when these were just the be-all, end-all of Star Wars figures. At a massive, 10,000 yen. Oh, that was unthinkable back in the day. Now it's 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 Hot Toys figure. Yeah, I can do that. But yeah, back in the day, and you will see these a lot at secondhand stores if you wander around, especially outside of Tokyo, where not all of the big nerds live, but where this stuff could sit on a shelf for a while and not be picked up until an appreciative buyer walks by. It's the official Star Wars credit card. And Clone Wars. So now we move into the sequel trilogy. Star Wars got huge in Japan. Like once these came out, it was always not small, but I mean this is when Star Wars became like a mainstream thing in Japan. I mean, to take this thing is huge. Want to say this was 1,000 yen. It was released, and they just had stacks and stacks and stacks of these. Tons of beautiful, beautiful art. Lots and lots of concept art. Then you got about the Star Wars saga, because new people were definitely coming in with this movie. A whole lot of merchandise. I mean, I was talking a second ago about how the 10,000 yen statues were there. I mean, here we got some watches that are 98,000 yen. It's almost $1,000. All the Funko Pops, things like that. Yeah. So when Force Awakens came out, not only did they have the regular program, which was very nice, and I don't think I've ever seen one of these secondhand. I don't think these have started showing up in used bookstores yet. They also released 3 special edition programs, because of course they did. And they were exclusive to the day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think, I might be getting these mixed up, but I think it was, Rey was day 1, BB-8 was day 2, and Kylo Ren was 3. I didn't see it opening day. I was not going to go to a movie theater for a Star Wars opening day. That was not going to be something that was going to happen. Not in the right headspace for that. But I got the Souvenir program for Saturday, which is, the exact same thing, just different cover. And another, 1,000 yen from me. We had to wait in a special line to buy these. They said, if you want to buy, all the Star Wars goods, go over here. If you want to buy the special day-only Souvenir program, you have to go into a special line over on the other side of the theater. Only one per person. You have to show your ticket to buy it. That's something else. Sorry, I didn't mention that. You don't have to buy a ticket to a movie to buy a program. If you just want the program for whatever reason, maybe you've seen the movie before or whatever, you just think the program's cool, you could just walk into a theater lobby and buy the program. But these ones, you had to buy a ticket to the movie, then you had to go and wait in line, and the line went up a staircase to buy, these. And I've only got this one. I've never seen the other ones for sale. I probably could find them if I looked, but don't really need it. Don't really need this one, to be quite honest, but Star Wars fever. Okay, and we get Last Jedi. Last Jedi. I loved The Last Jedi. This is probably my favorite single. Okay, let me couch that a bit. There were scenes in The Last Jedi that are my absolute favorite in all of Star Wars. I don't know if it's my favorite Star Wars movie, but the Luke and Yoda scene and the Luke and Kylo scene are my top 2 just favorite scenes with Luke in the entire series, and I loved it. What we got in here? Oh, there's the receipt, so I guess I paid 1,000 yen for this. Pretty sure I did see this opening day, so I don't know if there were other Souvenir programs besides this. I really like this cover, and it's really, really beautiful. Nice. I mean, obviously there are better art books, the art of Last Jedi and things like that. So I don't really need anything like this, but it's a fun thing to have. Nice shelf piece. Reminder that you were there. It's a piece of history. And so many advertisements. You got the Jedi Challenges VR thing, the Artifacts statues now, the Hot Toys figures. You look at this and you're like, oh, that's a really nice display, and then you realize it's several $1,000s if you want to put that kind of display together. So many ads. So many ads. And the ads for the Star Wars plastic models, which are fantastic. Okay, also, they did release programs for the spin-offs. Here's Rogue One. Very nice program. I don't have Solo. I didn't see Solo. Disney, in all their infinite wisdom, decided to push the release date of Solo in Japan. I don't say push. Schedule the release date for Solo several months after it was released in the U.S., and they did it to capitalize on a big holiday weekend. Didn't work especially well. But by the time Solo came out here in Japan, it was like a month removed from being released on DVD in the US. And it was just like, okay, well, I could either go see this movie, spend, the price of 2 tickets and popcorn and whatever, or I could just import the DVD or the Blu-ray for like half that. And so that's what I did. I didn't see Solo in the theater, and I didn't think to buy the pamphlet. But I do have the pamphlet from another spin-off for a theatrically released Star Wars movie here in Japan, and that is Battle for Endor. Yes, this came out in theaters here in Japan. Battle for Endor. Can you believe it? We had the honor and the privilege of paying actual money to see this thing. Oh, Wilfred Brimley getting his due. So yeah, that's my quick look into Star Wars theatrical programs. Just a few little things I wanted to mention. This was something that came with the special edition program. It's a little mini program in a program. And for all of you collectors who are going to be into this kind of stuff, if you're ever in Japan, I want you to take note of the process. Okay, here's my wife's copy of the special edition Force Awakens program. There's a process that most people go through when they see a movie and buy a program. When you go to see a movie, here you will often wind up with a whole bunch of paper goods, your tickets, maybe some promotional stuff that like a poster or something that they give you for seeing the movie, and also these things called chirashi. And chirashi are, I think they used to call them lobby cards, just little mini poster looking things. Like on the front there's the poster art, and on the back there's some information about the upcoming movie. And if you go to almost any Japanese theater, you'll find a ton of these things just sitting in the lobby. Take a few, do what you want. They frame nicely. I got Doctor Strange here, Biohazard: The Final, Moana. If you feel like doing it, you could usually make a couple of bucks selling the more popular ones. They're free. Take them. They don't care. I mean, you'd probably get a few sideways looks if you started taking 10 or 12, but taking one or two of each is totally fine. Anyway, so people buy the program, they get these things, and then they throw them. They put the chirashi in the pamphlet, and then they go home and they put it on their bookshelf, and then they sell the book to Book Off, and they realize it's garbage and they don't need it. And then I buy it, and I do like to look through them, which is why every now and then, and these are not all from this, every now and then you do find some pretty cool stuff packed into the programs. I mean, for Force Awakens, you get this thing for the BB-8 app game, some advertisements for Hot Toys, the movie ticket, and yeah, they put the little check mark on the back so that you don't go and buy more than one, you naughty people. And also the Star Wars wardrobe collection. Some nice Star Wars neckties, very subtle. There's just a little touch of Star Wars on here. You wouldn't know unless you looked at it. These ties are $160. Here's a nice jacket. It's about $120 for the Star Wars lining in this jacket. Just, I thought I was a big nerd, but whew, that's some next level stuff. But what I really wanted to get into was something I found when I opened the original programs that I got way back in Kyushu, and some of those were stuffed with lobby cards for Star Wars movies. And we got Episode 2, nicer Episode 2. Someone did not take just one. More Episode 2. Oh, episode 2. Ah, episode 2. Someone just grabbed a handful of these things. Episode 2. And, yay! Star Wars, the original Star Wars, the lobby card. And Empire Strikes Back. And Return of the Jedi. And, oh, is it? Is it? Is it? Is it? No. No. Return of the Jedi again. But yeah, those were just stuck into some of the pamphlets that I bought. Now, when you buy a movie ticket, you usually do it digitally, or you buy it online or through the ticket machine. Up until fairly recently, you could buy your tickets well in advance, and you would get nice printed tickets with like a, the date and time and like a photo of the poster on like a nice keepsake ticket. They don't do that so much anymore. But if you buy these little souvenir pamphlet things, you'll often find those things stuck in there. I've got one for, I think it was Ninja Turtles, had one. So yeah, if you're into collecting just fun and cheap stuff, these Japanese theatrical souvenir programs are the fun way to go. They're easy to find, they're very cheap, display well. I think they display better framed than things like laser discs or things like that. Yeah. So anyway, a few more days until the Rise of Skywalker. Hope you're as excited as I am. Or more, even more would be better. And I got a few more pamphlet videos coming down the pipe. Some more Star Wars content coming up. Take care and happy hobbying.